Alright guys, back again. Let's talk about Saw 2, which to me is a totally different movie than the first Saw movie, in which the first one is more of a mystery movie that focuses on like what's going on, like why are these people in the bathroom, like who is this Jigsaw killer? Like I really love the first one, and I love the fact that this one is interesting because it's the first sequel and it does what all the other sequels do, in which it elaborates more on the story. So I do appreciate that the first one is a very good mystery movie. It is very good, and it's one of the best Saw movies. But Saw 2, I think, rewatching this is a really great movie as well. And honestly, I really, really dug it. I think this is actually really close to the original one, but being different because it shows the traps this time more than it did in the first one. Or the first one, the traps were a backdrop for the story purpose and not really shown as much of an importance. In this one, this is about a lot of people inside of a house that are druggies, and they are going through all these traps trying to survive while this guy, Detective Matthews, Donnie Wahlberg, is trying to figure out the mystery of what's going on. And Donnie Wahlberg in this, I think, is really good and underrated, and I think his performance is really good. Really good. And I really did enjoy him in this movie. I think that he does have that basic, like, troubled father story where, like, he and his son aren't getting along, and I really did like the performances between him and his son, the guy who is from Scream 4, another horror movie. But the kid, like, I think does a good job too, and I really like that they both, like, there's not a lot to these characters, but I really like that there was just enough to where I cared enough about these characters. And also having John Kramer elaborated way more in this movie really does what a great sequel does, where like it elaborates on him and how he had cancer, and it's a good addition because it shows that Dr. Gordon tells him before the first movie that he has cancer, so it leads to Dr. Gordon being trapped, and it also leads to John Kramer realizing that whenever you don't appreciate life, he wanted a way for people to appreciate it or die trying to do it. And I think that while being a sick character, of course, it's cool that they elaborate on John Kramer. I really think that's interesting. And also, I love the fact that Amanda's back in this again. Like, Shawnee Smith is really good again. And it's weird because when I first saw this movie, without spoiling the twist yet, the Amanda being in the movie was such a weird thing. Like, why is she in it? But then whenever you realize what the twist is, it makes total sense. But it's cool seeing her back because I really do like her in this movie as well. I think that she, again, like John Kramer, she really is a character that is elaborated and more interesting because the first movie is the mystery. Like, she's just a victim, and in this one, she's a victim again, but in a different way that makes more sense in terms of this twist at the end of the movie. Now, this one, like I said, is not like the first one, where it instead focuses more on traps, and the traps are way more elaborate and more shown in this one. This one would make it the trend for all the Saw sequels to be about more of the traps than the characters, which I felt like the first movie had a great balance of, and I think this has a great balance of too, with characters and traps. I don't like it where it's just traps, but I think that these two movies have good balance between characters and the traps, the two things that people want to see the most. So I appreciate that. Now, all these traps are hard to watch, and there are so many scenes where I just, like, the first time I watched this, and I've seen this a couple times, the first time I saw this movie, I was just cringing in a way where I was just like, oh my god, like, stop, because all these traps are so horrific. This one character, Obi, who gets inside of this oven to grab the syringes, and like he pulls on the chain which locks the door in the oven, and the oven of course turns on and burns him alive. That is horrifying, and just the thought of being in an oven turning on and being stuck in there and slowly dying is terrifying. And then that scene where Amanda is thrown into all these syringes is again horrifying because these are all dirty, disgusting, sharp syringes that she's just thrown into, and she has to find the one, like a needle in a haystack. She's got to find the one that is actually the right one, and it is so horrifying to watch. Even though with Amanda, she survives, but still, it's a horrifying in the moment. And there's also this one druggy girl who has to put her hands through this box. Like, she puts her hands up here, like there's a box where she fits her hands through to try to get what's in there. And then of course the glass starts cutting her and ripping her arms open, and like, again, the traps in this movie are horrifying and really, really, really incredibly effective. I thought that they really grossed me out in a way that was honestly, like, if you look at the first two Saw movies, the first one is a fantastic mystery movie. This one is a fantastic movie on the traps. And even though I like the characters a lot in this movie, like I do in the first one, I think the traps are the bigger point as opposed to the story and the mystery in the first one. But still, the traps in this are horrifying. They're so well done, and they work so incredibly effective. And all these druggy characters are, of course, there to be killed, but I liked them all and how they were just, they weren't characters that were annoying to me. They were characters that I thought were just, they were incredibly stupid. Like, there's very much of a logic thing in this movie where, like, and I'll keep going in all the other Saw sequels, where logic is not a thing for these movies to really mesh with, because they do a lot of stupid things. Like, and you could argue that they've been on drugs, so they're kind of like just, and they're freaking out because they're in a house they can't escape, so they're trying to do everything they can. But putting your hands in a freaking glass box and you see it opens up and then you put your other hand in it right afterward is so stupid, and she bleeds to death, and like with her wrist getting cut open. It's horrifying, but it's also so stupid because these characters are not smart. Anybody could easily not fall for that, but these characters are really stupid. So that's one of my complaints. But still, I really think this is a great sequel, though, overall. And I also like this character that you think would not be very important, but out of all the druggy characters, the Xavier character, the big guy who's literally hurting everybody to get his way through, to make it through almost every trap to the movie, I really thought he was intimidating. I thought he was just a dude that goes through all this shit, that like he makes himself win through all these situations by screwing other people over. And he's a cool, underrated character, and I did like him in this movie a lot. But again, these characters are fine, but they are just incredibly stupid in a way where they couldn't escape all these traps, but man, some of these characters are horribly stupid, where it's just annoying. But of course, if you didn't have that, you didn't have the movie, so I understand. And again, the guy who willingly goes into the oven, the Obi guy, like, that's so stupid too. But again, I'm just complaining over something that doesn't really need to be complained about, but still, that's one of my kind of negatives for the movie. Besides that, I said I really did like Detective Matthews. I really did like John Kramer. I really did like Amanda. I love the fact that the movie has a twist at the end, like the first one, and you will see an ongoing trend. Every single Saw movie has a twist, whether it's good or not, because I don't remember all the twists in every one of them. But I remember this twist, where the twist is revealed that Amanda was part of the game on purpose. She's there to get Detective Matthews' son out of there, because John Kramer did promise to have his son live, and he did, and Amanda saved him throughout every situation, and keeping Daniel alive was part of the plan. And then Detective Matthews, by the end of the movie, is literally tied up again, just like how in the first movie it ended, where he is chained up. And I love the fact that he plays the tape, and it's Amanda this time saying that you arrested me on a thing that I did not do, and then I was actually arrested on something with whenever she met John Kramer, and she and him formed a bond. After she survived his first game, she goes and becomes part of the game with him, with John Kramer, and she and him settle this up to where Detective Matthews is just chained up and is presumably gonna die. So presumably going to die just like the first movie. So I thought that was really, really a fantastic ending that she was Jigsaw's accomplice, and it blew me away the first time I saw it, because rewatching it, it's so obvious that Amanda is part of his accomplice, because she is there the whole time telling him to do all the right things. Nobody listens. She's there again a second time. Why would she just be there a second time? And I think that works very well. It had a very, very awesome twist. And this twist is like the first twist is the best twist I think that I remember from all these movies, and I haven't rewatched them all in a while, so I'll say what I think about the other twists in each of the sequels. But as is, the first twist is fantastic. This twist is great as well for the second movie. It really, really sold me, and again, it's so obvious whenever you watch the movie again that she's the accomplice, but it works so well in how they placed it. Really great twist. Really like the characters and really like the gore, and it just really sold me on every facet that I think that this, for me, is just so close to the original Saw that I think that this is fantastic. And the first Saw is still the best for me, rewatching these two so far. And I will do a ranking video after I rewatch all these movies, but as is, Saw 2, I think, is a great sequel. It really lives up to the original in a different and unique way. Even though it's a more exploitive way, like doing more of the traps as opposed to less of a story, I still think the traps are really effective and really work very well. So I really enjoyed Saw 2 on rewatch. This was a very great sequel. So that's my thoughts on Saw 2. Tell me down below what you guys think of Saw 2. I want to hear your thoughts. And if you guys like this video, check out my links in the description for Twitter, Patreon, Letterboxd, my Facebook group, Horror Enthusiast 101. And thank you guys again so much for watching.